Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
The father of our country and our first president, George Washington, said these words: "It is impossible rightly to govern the world without God and the Bible." We're going to talk more about this in a little bit. Right now, here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Come on, Patriots, be proud, call in. Good morning. And a good morning to you. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell. Thank you for being with us this morning as my headset's broke in the middle and we've got them duct taped together. I'm Zeb Bell, and of course our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best of tires for anything and everything the road throws at you. Stop in and see them today. Also, some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
My friend.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Doug, I'm going to have a story on here in just a minute I want you to respond to, so I appreciate it, buddy, and have a great day. I'll look forward to talking to you again.
You bet.
Thank you. All right. Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And we've got birthdays and a lot of other things going on here in just a moment. But right now it's time for the weather with K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Heyburn. Hello, Roger and the crew. And they're on the Burley Paul Highway. You couldn't miss them. I mean, they've got a great big front yard of about, 10 acres just full of equipment. All the equipment you need at K&R Rental on the Burley Paul Highway. For questions, call them 678-3122. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Mother Nature teasing us with spring-like conditions and then possibly snow for the weekend. Good morning with your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast. Scotty Cameron sitting in for Gina Jameson. For today, expecting sunshine. Highs are going to be around 35. Light and variable winds, partly cloudy for tonight, then a low around 20. Then for Thursday, mostly sunny. Highs around 37. It keeps getting better. Mostly clear Thursday night with low around 25. Then for Friday, mostly sunny. Highs around 42. That's where the good ends, because Friday night going to bring a chance of rain, lows of 32. Saturday, a possible wintry mix, rain likely, a high around 43. Then for Saturday night, rain likely and a chance of snow, lows of 33. Same thing for Sunday, looks like a chance of snow, rain, and a high of 40. That's your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast. I hope you have a great day. I'm Scotty Cameron.
Hey, Scotty, man, I appreciate it. Thank you for filling in for Gina this morning, and the weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Heyburn. Like I said, they get there early in the morning to make sure they're there to serve you with all the tools and equipment you need at K&R Rental. And if you're not sure what you need for your construction project or whatever you're doing, just call and ask the professionals. 678-3122, K&R Rental. Holy cow, we got a whole bunch of birthdays today. Michelle Lewis, a very, very nice lady over at Denny's restaurant in Burley, and she's always so helpful to help us and assist everybody at Lunch Bunch. Thank you. You're having a birthday today. And the lovely Ellen Peterson is having a birthday today. So, my goodness, wonderful ladies, and Ellen always with a big smile on her face, and we wish them a great day. Happy birthday to both of you. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927 4587. We're going to get right into the thick of things momentarily. Want to remind you, too, about Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Oh, they get there early in the morning at 7:30 and throw the doors open and say, come on in. We've got all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs right here at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. You know, the thing about them, they've been in business over 6 decades. Think of that. I mean, going into almost the 7th decade, and great service, fantastic, knowledgeable people for all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. That's not brag, that's a fact. Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. You stop in, see them today. Also, quickly, I want to just tell you that over the last couple of weeks, I've been on a kind of a self-imposed diet. And it's tough, really tough getting here on the program and talking about Denny's restaurant, America's Diner, with their breakfast choices and all the new menu items and the dinners and the lunches and the sandwiches and all the desserts. It's fantastic. It will be for you and your family, too. At 611 North Overland in Burley. Denny's Restaurant, Thomas and the whole crew, and always there to serve you at America's Diner. And they have another location at 291 Poline Road in Twin Falls. I tell you what, folks, you can't make this thing or these stories up. First of all, I want to comment on a person that was a person and persons, actually. I think they must live in the same neighborhood or something, that called and criticized yesterday for us being short and curt to the governor. Now, first of all, that's not the truth. Second of all, I hope you were listening, because if need be, I'll play the tape back on the air. We were not short and curt to the governor. The one thing that happened, for any of you that have wristwatches or wall clocks, you could see that the governor was late. It wasn't Wheels. No. It wasn't his fault. Nobody's fault at our station. The governor was late calling in to our program yesterday. 11 minutes late. Now, you can do the math. If we have a 20-minute segment and we have weather forecasts and we have our major sponsors to get in there, that means with 11 minutes shot out of the saddle of not being there, that only gives us a 9-minute segment to get everything in. In this business, we are dictated and dedicated to and by the clock. And, you know, to say that we were short or curt to the governor, that didn't happen. And that really kind of took the grits out of the plate for me a little bit. I was upset. We wanted to cover things more in their entirety, especially the Medicaid expansion money, and also his comments about climate change. But we had no time. Now, you got to bear with me a little bit. Tomorrow at 10:30, we are expecting, and I'm crossing my fingers, a 15-minute segment, or maybe 18 if we can stretch the rubber band a little bit, with United States Senator Mike Crapo. So we'll see how that goes. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Easy to find, and these are people that can really help you. Many folks, because of the fact that they're working hard on the farm or the ranch during the summertime, They go in and maybe have some reconstructive surgery during the winter months and then heal up and have to get back in shape. Well, that's exactly why you should get a hold of Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. They are there to serve you and help you get back to being you. Nick Greenwell and all the physical therapists, let me tell you, they are the best. How do I know? Been there many, many, many times. 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. You give them a call today. Excellent, excellent people. One other note here. No, I'm going to go right into this. This is a story that is, it's got me so mad, and I just wonder if it's going to approach you on the same getting mad road that I am. More disgusting and disturbing anti-God from the Democrats. Now, in certain House committees, they are saying that the words, "so help you God," regarding testimony will be stricken, will be stopped. Here's what happened. House Democrats are proposing to strike "so help you God" from witnesses' oaths before major committees as part of their proposed rules package. This is incredible. I have never seen a party. I have never seen a group of nincompoops, which I think the Democrats are. If that offends you, that's too bad. Denigrate and trash our Creator, God. They did this at the Democratic National Convention. We've seen and heard other stories about how they have denounced and basically cast asunder anything of religious value. And now they want to take out the words, "so help you God." This is absolutely sickening. House Republican Conference Chairwoman Liz Cheney of Wyoming, a very nice lady, Dick Cheney's daughter, said it is incredible, but not surprising, that the Democrats would try to remove God from committee proceedings in one of their very first acts in the majority. And she said, and I quote, and I stand behind her, they, the Democrats, really have become a party of Karl Marx. I want to go a step further on this. In just a minute after I do this commercial. I am really teed off about this, and you should be too. I wonder, perchance, if any of the clergy will start writing sermons about this. Or are they going to let this issue die on the vine too? We'll see. I want to remind everybody about Sophie's Cookies. Wow, when you talk about cookies and a bakery and all the pies and the cakes and the wedding cakes, you're talking about delicious, delicious food at Sophie's Chatterbox, along with a restaurant, knock your boots off delicious, at 530 East Street in Rupert. I urge you to get a hold of them. Stop in, see them today. You're going to be glad you did. And don't forget, every Monday at 8:30, we give away a dozen cookies to Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. Really, really good. Also, real quick, while I'm waiting for your calls, it amazes me on certain subjects where we see little by little our values and our morality being eroded and thrown into the gutter. Folks, we got to speak out. That's the whole thing and the reason why we've got these troubles. Nobody speaks out. Caller, I'll be right with you. Don't forget Dino's Septic Service. And, of course, they are the best at what they do. That's not bragging. That is absolutely the truth. Septic tank pumping, backhoe services, water and sewer lines installed, liquid waste removal, sewer and sink drain lines clean. They do it all with a big smile on their face with their truck that says, "Smells Cargo on the way." Call them today, 436-6526, or in Burley, 678-1638. Dino Septic Service, the best. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Earl. This morning, walking up the road to the lambing shed here, I looked up in the sky, and the moon was clear, and the stars were shining. And I thought of what you're talking about this morning about not using God in our terms. And it's time these people back there get their head out of the sewer and stand up on a mountain and look out into the universe if they don't believe in God.
You know, Earl, I make no bones about it. I don't hide it. I will never hide it. I love my religion and my Christianity, and I'm not going to back up and apologize to anyone for things I say in regards to that on the radio. It has offended some here in this area, but that, to me, and it sounds calloused, that's their problem, not mine. I am not going to back up. And when I see this United States of America, a country that was founded upon Judeo-Christian principles, being eroded and trashed, and members of our own House of Representatives want to strike anything to do or say about God, and yet they will cater to Muslims and allow them to stand with Palestinian garb on and put their hand on the Koran to be sworn in. Something's wrong, Earl.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's people miss so much from living in crowded cities. They need to reach out and touch what's out there beyond where we're at today.
I can't agree with you more, but Earl, the problem is, and I think you'll agree with this, I don't care if you live up on the mountain at Albion. I don't care if you live in the inner city of L.A. I don't care where you live. We are not isolated from this, and we have got to speak out and speak back against this evil, and that's why the other day I criticized the clergy, church, and sermons, and pastors and ministers. They're not doing enough.
We honestly got to look out and open our eyes as to what's going around us. You just can't stick your head in a cupboard and shut your mind off to everything, Zeb.
I agree, but I can't be just one voice on the radio. It takes everybody, you and everybody else, to demand better. This sleaze, this filth, this evil that's taken over this country, and it is sleaze, filth, and evil, has got to stop. We need a big dustpan and a broom, and I hope we start sweeping it out.
Zeb, one other little thing.
Go ahead quickly.
Thing, if I can put it in tomorrow, if you're talking, is it Crapo?
Yes.
Would you speak with him and maybe pass something on to our governor again as to if we can bring in our forest industry on state and federal lands again in this country, to at least in the Northwest, to clean up our forests from this deadfall and these bad.
I promise you, I've got it on my list. I will do my best to get it in. Earl, I appreciate your friendship and listenership. Thank you. Have a good day. I got another one waiting. Thank you, and I will.
Bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, first of all, when you have your radio schedule, it's a two-way cooperation. You have to keep the time so you can get everything in and get all the sponsors' ads in, because you depend on those and you have a commitment to them. And the next thing is that you have to get in things like the weather that people are willing to and are waiting to hear. And then it's the other person's responsibility to be on time with you to help you do that. Secondly, we have gotten in our country to the point where we think we have to be everything to everybody, and everybody is right, and everybody has to have their say and their tribute and their credit. And so we don't believe in anything. And that's not the way it goes.
No, And I'm so glad you were so articulate in explaining my situation. Very seldom, and I want everybody in the audience to understand this, I don't care about other talk shows. I don't care about other talk show hosts. I couldn't care less how they structure their program. My dear friend Wheels, our engineer, I make it explicit to him on 99% of the occasions that we call the people that are going to be on the air because we have control. We know when they're going to be on, and we call them. It was a circumstance yesterday because of travel from Boise over to eastern Idaho with the governor that we didn't have that option, and they said they would call us. So I appreciate and really respect your comments, Linda. I'm under the gun. If I have a 20-minute segment, that doesn't mean 25. It doesn't mean 27. It means a 20-minute segment. Anything over that, and adios.
Yeah, and he may have gotten into a situation where he didn't have control either.
That's true.
And so it was really nothing on either of your parts, but you still had to follow your schedule.
That's exactly right. And the way things are on this program or any program, the clock is a dictator as to what we do and what we don't do.
Yes.
Thank you. It's always good to hear from you, and it's going to be a sunny day just to match your personality, and have a wonderful day.
Oh, Zeb, thank you so much.
All right. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you.
And have a good vacation.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Folks, the thing I also want to bring up about this striking of So Help You God, the Democrats... What in the world is going on? They were the ones that just 2 months after they took over the House, stand by, caller, I'll be right there. I want to make this point. Just 2 months after the Democrats took over the House, they proposed to get rid of, discard a 181-year-old restriction on wearing religious headgear on the House floor. Why? So they could accommodate the Muslim women that were elected to the House. No, you have got to have rules. You've got to have regulations. You've got to have a beginning and an end as to how far you're going to bend and what you will take and not take. And I am sick and tired of this capitulation to the Muslims. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. I'm full-heartedly agree with you that that's ridiculous. If you come to America to be American and you're elected into our Congress, you play by our rules, not the rules that you brought with you.
Sir, let me ask you something. If you were a congressman back there, and there was this induction ceremony where they wore a Palestinian garb and the flag of Palestine and the headgear of the Muslims and put their hand on the Quran, why wouldn't you and others say, wait a minute, this is not the way we do things here in America. It's not the way we do things in the House of Representatives. And as a congressman, I protest and absolutely demand you stop this. Nobody said anything. It was crickets back there.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense, just like the striking of So Help Me God. But a year or two ago, I was witness to some court proceedings, and at that time, here on a local level, they had stricken that from when you stand up and swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. All they make you swear to now is to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. As So Help Me God left that, I'm not sure when, but I was quite appalled at that point. It's just kind of insanity at its best, just like, I hate to change the subject, but if you'll let me, I don't know if you heard Elizabeth Warren's idea to tax the super wealthy, a 2% tax just because they're super wealthy.
Yeah.
Just last night I was watching a program on Ancestry, and it was interesting. They were talking about some of the Jewish people in the 1800s, in the early 1800s in Russia, before they left, were being taxed a tolerance tax. And that person made the comment that was one of the most perverse taxes he had ever heard of. And then this morning, I hear one of the most perverse taxes I'd ever heard of, taxing people who achieved the American dream.
Yeah.
People who went out and started with nothing and worked hard and made billions of dollars And in the process, you know as well as I do, they've helped a lot of other people along the way by paying them to work for them and helping them as well, and donating and doing things philanthropic, you know.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question here, sir, if you don't mind. And I'm not going to ask your name or anything unless you want to give it. But what business or profession have you been in?
I've kind of been in the business world in business management.
All right. Can you imagine, and think about this and give me your answer, can you imagine how much worse Idaho and the Northwest would be if it hadn't have been for a great entrepreneur by the name of J.R. Simplot?
It'd be scary to think because of how shortly we've been treated on natural resources. But don't get me wrong, that's why I love living in Idaho, is because they did protect our natural resources. But they come at a cost to us as citizens here.
What I'm saying is, without some entrepreneur like J.R. Simplot, or the people that started the Home Depots, or the people that start any business, they're sticking their neck out on the line. They grew from nothing. Maybe they were out in the garden as a little child and they said they want to get in agriculture, and they grew and they studied and they worked and they had blood, sweat, and tears, and they basically developed an empire that hired so many people, had so many divisions of their business and industry. It was world known. It was absolutely one of the greatest things since sliced bread because of the hiring and job opportunities and everything else. And these idiots, and that's what they are on the left, whether it's Ocasio-Cortez or whether it's Warren or whomever, that want to stymie and stop growth and people's incentive to go out and create more and do more, they are absolutely the dumbest people on the face of the earth.
I wholeheartedly agree. There seems to be no ability in society anymore to have a reason or logic, and it just fries my mind every day. But I can't imagine. Can you imagine what the communities in Idaho would be if Simplot had never come along?
That's my whole point.
It sparked innovation, design for new equipment to harvest things that are being used. They're using potato harvesters around the world that were designed because of those things that come about. There wouldn't be buildings. There would be nothing.
This is my whole point. I mean, people, ordinary people that sat there and said there's a better way, or if I work hard and use the talents that God gave me, I can achieve this. And maybe when they achieve that rung on the ladder, they say, well, I can achieve this, and I can grow, and then I can start subsidiary companies or branches, and I can hire more people. Everybody benefits. They get the bread on the table, the clothes on the kids, the gas in the car, all because one guy wanted to be an entrepreneur. Why punish these people? This is insanity, but that's what's going on in this country. We live in an insane world because of stupid left Democrats trying to take over.
Seems like the only ones that are crying are the ones that consider themselves public servants, when actually they've been in there so long, I believe they're public parasites and should be expelled somehow. I don't know. But I don't know why anybody serves in any public office any longer than the president is allowed to serve.
You know something? It's been refreshing to hear from you, and I thank you for your call. And please don't make yourself a stranger. I appreciate it and respect it. Thank you.
Zeb, thank goodness I can say this to you. God bless you and yours forever.
That's very nice, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you. I tell you what, folks, just think about this. I mean, these people like Ocasio-Cortez, that gentleman just called was spot on. He knows what's going on. But yet there are the masses that live around all the parts of the country that are sitting there, oh, give a round of applause. Elizabeth Warren, she wants to tax the rich and take it away from those evil people. And then you have this little girl, 29 years of age. She basically is still wet behind the ears, never done a thing, but yet she's put up on a pedestal, and they want everybody to respect her, saying, oh, we got to tax the rich. We got to 70, 80, 90% of their money back. Oh, we got to go get them. These are stupid, and they are, socialist, and they are, killers, of our society that has been the best society in the world for over 200 years. Caller, stand by. I will be right there. I'm on my soapbox. I got mad. Ark Animal Hospital, don't forget 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Hayburn. Number to call, 678-1177. And by the way, if you're getting baby chicks from outside the state of Idaho, like Utah or California, be careful. You're going to expose all your chickens to a respiratory disease called Newcastle disease. That could be and would be very devastating. Don't forget the best place to take your pets and your animals, Ark Animal Hospital in Hayburn. Number to call, 678-1177. Dr. Bill and the whole crew, where they have the warm hearts for the cold noses. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. The whole problem is this whole country is, or much of it, is suffering from the Rip Van Winkle effect. 20 years from now, they're going to wake up and find a country that's not fit to live in. Now, as long as we got people like Nancy Pelosi and her lapdog, Chuck Schumer, they're out there to change this country, and another 5, 10, 12 years, it'll be another Venezuela.
You know, I don't think you're right on your tenure of time. I think it's right around the corner. I don't think it's going to be 5, 10, or 20 years. I think the way things are going, and if these Democrats, with their insidious evil ways, and they are evil, take over in 2020, hey, all bets are off, Tony. You better grab the manhole cover and pull it over your head.
Yeah, it's coming fast, I'll tell you. And I'm glad I'm not 20 years old again, because this younger generation is in for a major shock.
They don't understand it. They don't understand it, and it's such a crying shame. There are many, many young millennials that are sharp. They go out and they work, and they're trying to achieve, and they're trying to accomplish, and they're using the talents that the good Lord gave them. But then you have a large percentage of these millennials that are being led by the nose by stupid, idiotic, leftist, and absolutely worthless professors and teachers that believe America's a bad country and you got to tear it apart.
Yeah, our school system has been infiltrated, and that's the basic place to start.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, you have the current job at almost 20 minutes to 9 of going over and giving your wonderful wife a big kiss on the cheek and saying good morning. There you go. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you, Zach.
All right, buddy. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't you dare go away. Barry Equipment and Rental. I remember yesterday I had more trouble with their ad. For some reason, I couldn't get the words out. Okay, let's articulate and be careful. Barry Equipment and Rentals. Sales, service, and parts at 159 West Highway 30 in Burley with Juan, good old boy. 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin with Eli and the Nampa location. You know, they say thank you for everybody doing business with them last year, and they're looking forward to a phenomenal year this year in 2019. And they're offering all the Bobcats with the financing at 0% for 60 months. Whoa! Stop in. Barry Equipment and Rental, retail equipment sales and equipment rentals. And again, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, and the Nampa location, Barry Equipment and Rental. Caller, you are on the air.
Well, thank you, sir. Yeah, this, with Pelosi and these people that are obstructing and that Cortez, the Democrats, they just want to take this country down. They always have. They've wanted to turn this country into a dictatorship so where they could be the elite and nobody else knew anything. And I agree with Jerry that the schools is where it started, and it started in the 60s when they started dictating what they could teach in school and what they couldn't. They could cut this out of the history and this out of the history. And when you do not teach accurate history, you're going to make the same mistakes over and over.
You know, Doug, I am very proud, and I've had some people call me sometime here. It's been before Thanksgiving. And they kind of, they gave me kind of a, chuckle. You went to a one-room country school? Why, you old Abraham Lincoln. I'm surprised you can even know how to tie your boots or shoes. Let me tell you something, and I'm proud of it. Mrs. Kiltz. Her name was Mrs. Mildred Kiltz. She taught all 8 grades at that country one-room school, Curtis Mill School. I did not suffer and did not have a bad education. I had a very good education. We got up in the morning when the bell rang and we recited the pledge. And we had a prayer. I stand behind that, and I will never weaken or capitulate to the evil that's in our society today.
I agree with you 100%. I didn't go to a one-room school. I'm not as old as you.
Thanks, Doug.
Just a little, yeah. Anyway, but I had a good education growing up. We got taught, the right and wrong, respect our country, stand up for your country. I got to thinking yesterday, it's a good thing that Adolf Hitler happened when he did, because if it was happening now, you wouldn't get the people 17 and 16 wanting to sign up for the service at underage, lying about their age so they could go fight and defend this country.
Okay, well, let's just stay here with the problem that I see. Okay, and I want your response on this. I do not want, I hope they're all listening out there in Radio Land, especially some of the op-ed members of the Times News. I'm sure they'll write about this. I do not want one Muslim to take office and wear Muslim headgear or Palestinian robes representing a country that has been a killing country and a traitor country to our allies. And I do not want one person to stand up and take the office of this nation with their hand on the Koran. I don't trust these people. Little by little, inch by inch, foot by foot, yard by yard, they're trying to infiltrate and take over. And you know as well as I do, anybody that doesn't think so is stupidly naive.
Exactly. Exactly it. In fact, in 1990, and I can't remember the bill that they overturned in the silence of night, that Muslims could not hold a political office. I will get you the bill and everything they overturned, but it was in 1990.
Yeah, but let's even go closer than that, Doug. You've been a listener for a long time. Let's call a spade a spade. Congressman Mike Simpson. Oh, our illustrious congressman that everybody loves. Hey, it wasn't that many years ago he got on my program and chewed me out and called me a McCarthyist because I was absolutely against the Muslim Brotherhood being a part of the Obama administration, and I'll stand behind what I did.
Exactly. The Muslim Brotherhood is a terrorist organization. They are driving the Muslims into the world to overtake the world. A Muslim religion isn't really a religion.
It's an ideology.
Political move.
It's an ideology.
Yes. And there's one book that just come out, and I seen a deal today, and we was talking about the Democrats and how they're obstructionists now. There's a book that just come out, and I seen his interview this morning, and it made light of how Nancy Pelosi is and Chuck Schumer and all the Democrats. Remember who was it, the Iranians or the Palestinians that was the IT people for the Democrats?
Mm-hmm.
This guy come out with a book. He said he was in dumpsters, middle of the night, getting shredded papers and putting them back together. And he's found that these two guys have the goods on a lot of the Democrats and are blackmailing them.
But, when you see the dangerous, demented, and disturbing facts of the Democratic Party absolutely turning its back on God and Christianity and saying, hey, at their convention, we don't want anything to do with it. We're not God people. And then coming out and saying they want to strike the phrase, so help you God, or take God out of the Pledge of Allegiance, whatever the case might be. I mean, how many times do you have to get hit in the face before you realize somebody doesn't like you?
Exactly. And that's how evil is. Evil will take you, and if you turn your back on God, and they'll cause you to turn your back on God and think it's the right thing to do. But when you turn your back on God, He turns His back on you.
Absolutely. And I tell you what, I'm going to reissue this challenge before I go to the weather, and I dare anybody to call me on the air and say I'm wrong. I issue this challenge to the pastors, the ministers, all church leaders today. This is a sermon that needs to be written about the striking of God in our community, our government, and our lives. Write a sermon and give it this Sunday, boys. It's well worthwhile.
It is. They're up there to preach to us about God and tell us how to be saved and how to fight against evil.
There you go. Doug, I'm way late. I got to run, but give us your 10-second little ditty.
Okay, everybody, let's do what you can for the senior centers. Go eat lunch there. I mean, it's an enlightenment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Doug. All right, buddy. Hey, it's time for the weather, brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology, and they promise to provide comprehensive treatment for all hearing loss and really, really look at all the treatment options, and they know, they understand what's causing the problem. 3 great audiologists, Dr. Christine Pickup, Dr. Mitchell, and Dr. Hunsaker, are there to serve you at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Where are they? Behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room. And the number to call, please, I urge you to call and make a hearing screening appointment, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And right now, I believe Scotty with the weather.
Mother Nature teasing us with spring-like conditions and then possibly snow for the weekend. Good morning with your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast. Scotty Cameron sitting in for Gina Jameson. For today, expecting sunshine. Highs are going to be around 35. Light and variable winds, partly cloudy for tonight, then a low around 20. Then for Thursday, mostly sunny. Highs around 37. It keeps getting better. Mostly clear Thursday night with low around 25. Then for Friday, mostly sunny. Highs around 42. That's where the good ends, because Friday night going to bring a chance of rain, lows of 32. Saturday, a possible wintry mix, rain likely, a high around 43. Then for Saturday night, rain likely and a chance of snow, lows of 33. Same thing for Sunday, looks like a chance of snow, rain, and a high of 40. That's your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast. I hope you have a great day. I'm Scotty Cameron.
I tell you what, old Scotty, he does his job and he does it well, and he's always got a little twist to things. Thank you very much, Scotty. Appreciate it. And the weather brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Yep, they are the best at what they do, providing the best of hearing health for you and your family. Number to call, 312-0957. Caller, I'm going to ask your indulgence. Stay with me 30 seconds. I've got to get this in. I also want to remind everybody about Patterson's, 421 East Main in Burley. Curtis, Lorena, the rest of the great folks. You know, if you're looking for a TV, yep, look no further. Patterson's with Samsung, Sony, Toshiba. I mean, and if you're looking for a complete sound system or a home theater system to sit back, kick back, and just say, good to be home. They've got it all. They've even got video surveillance cameras, everything you need right there at Patterson's, 421 East Main in Burley. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6, and believe me, nice, knowledgeable people serving you. Patterson's, East Main in Burley, 678-6997. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. It's the Yummy Man. Today it's the Burley Senior Center on South Overland. For only $5, we're going to have pigs in a blanket, mac and cheese, vegetables, fruit, and yummy dessert. And if you're a senior, you buy 10 tickets, you even save 50 cents a meal, or $4.50.
Okay. By the way, Joe, have you ever tried when you were farming to put a pig in a blanket?
Well, you need help.
Yeah, I'd say so. Oh, Joe. And what's the yummy dessert for today? Do you know?
No, I don't know. That's why. If they said that was yesterday and I forgot.
Oh, okay. Well, yesterday's a memory anyway. Joe, God bless you, man. Thanks so much.
Thank you for all you do for the area.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Joe. Joe Taylor at the Senior Junction Senior Center on Overland. Really, really good people. Calls welcome 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I got to tell you, this is really serious, and I've been there, lived there, and have seen and felt the cold. I don't think that there is a colder place to live when the weather goes poof, right through the bottom than Minneapolis, Minnesota, and the surrounding area. Right now, oh, by the way, there's an Al Gore watch out. If anybody sees Al Gore, please let me know. He seems to be in hiding during this disastrous record cold that's hitting this country. Anybody that finds Al Gore, have him call, please. We want to check in with him. But the record cold in the Midwest and the East right now, in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I went to college there, minus 65 wind chill. And in some cases in the outskirts of Minneapolis, minus 70. Minus 70 with the wind chill. And the high today in certain towns back in that area, the high is going to only be 20 below. And when you get these global warming kooks, and that's what they are in crackpots, and that name global warming didn't do well, so they changed it to climate change. They come out and they stand on their little bitty soapboxes and they spew all their idiocy. The temperatures are absolutely record temperatures. Later on this morning at 10:30, we're going to have a man that wrote a book called Inconvenient Facts, the science Al Gore doesn't want you to know about. He's been on before, Gregory Wrightstone. This is a killer cold snap. And I mean that, killer cold. People are dying. The homeless are dying. People are getting severe frostbite. They don't know what to do with all the people. And listen to this. It was actually colder in Minneapolis, Minnesota this morning at 8 o'clock than it will be all day at the North Pole. Caller, quickly, you're on the air. 2 minutes.
You betcha, sir. Yeah, I lived in Steamboat Springs for a while, and the coldest I seen out there was 58 below. And there was no wind, and it was bitter cold.
Yep.
Your hydraulics on machinery did not want to work. It just froze up like Jell-O.
I can remember vividly one morning in Minneapolis. We lived about maybe 3.5, 4 blocks from where my classes were at the university. And I can remember we all got telephone calls saying, do not come to school, do not do anything, stay inside. They had an alert on all the TV stations, etc., because of the extreme cold and wind chill. They didn't want anybody on the streets. That's what it's like this morning there in that area.
I know. It's cold when it gets that cold. It really is.
And Chicago, Illinois, other parts of the Midwest going back to the east, they have served out severe, never before, underline that, record low temperatures in this United States.
Yeah. Yeah, they even had the radio station out there was saying they had a vinyl seat warning.
Yeah. Wait a minute, Doug, wait a minute. I don't think that there is anything that made my eyes water more in just a split second or pucker up than thinking about sliding my little buns onto a cold 27 below vinyl seat. Whoa!
So anyway, I just thought I'd tell you that.
I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you. Yeah, it's cold. And I get a big kick out of these people that are your climate change and we're going to burn up and everything else. No, scientists that really know and have studied this, honestly, and not with fabrication. We're going into a really severe cooling trend that started about 7 years ago. And when you hear this, and I've lived there and I know this, that country is cold and it kills. Don't forget our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you. Service is the key word. And they've got all the tires, all the tread designs, all the sizes for any vehicle, so that whatever the road throws at you, you are going to be ready. Absolutely. You stop in and see them today. Check out the Wintercat XD for your SUV and your pickups. Or for your cars, the Reputation Tire. Superior performance, quiet ride. All of these tires and more at any one of the 7 locations. And don't forget the best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, etc. They're all there. They're all there with the best in service to you. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin, and Randy on Overland and Burley. Yep, the best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Next hour, Dave Bigo, and then at 9:30, a true friend to this program and my wife and I, Representative Bert Stevenson. All of that coming up. Don't go away, Zeb at the Ranch. Wheels, old buddy. It's yours. Oh, good morning. Boy, did I make a mistake a minute ago. I'll tell you about it in a second. Good morning. Dumb me. Good morning, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Stand by. Here's a good word for Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
Western Waste Services, and don't forget they've got the various size containers, the great big garbage containers, and they can bring one out. Maybe you need the small one or the larger one or the medium-sized one. Don't forget, you fill it up and then they'll come pick it up for you. Absolutely, they are concerned about getting rid of your garbage. And don't forget, too, they've got the Go Mini portable storage units. They can bring one to your house. You can fill it up and store it on your property, or have them take it back over to their company property and lock it up. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call 734-6969. Also, just a quick note here, Holly Rowe, thank you for all you do to help our seniors. A lot of seniors say, hey, wait a minute. I don't want to be railroaded into getting out of my home and going someplace else to live. I want to stay at home. Well, Minnecasia Hearts for Seniors at 135 East 23rd Drive in Burley can help you do just that. Absolutely. They can come and help you with daily tasks, or maybe some meal preparation or light housekeeping, or whatever the case might be. Please call them and find out more. Call Holly Rowe at 208-312-5715, or go to the website holly@heartsforseniors.net. I guarantee you these are nice people. Minnecasia Hearts for Seniors, 312-5715. I got to tell you, during the news, I made a bad mistake, and I felt like my blood sugar was a little low this morning. We're operating on E. We had basketball games for the grandkids and everything last night. And I didn't eat any supper, got up this morning and had a quick piece of toast, and then all the work and everything. I said, Deanne, can I please have a piece of chocolate out of the refrigerator? Well, first of all, the chocolate that I bit into was frozen. It was one of those caramels. And when my grinners sunk through into the caramel that was frozen, here I'm sitting there during the news, and it's only about the last 30 seconds to go, and my jaws are locked. And I'm taking my fingers and trying to pry. I'm not kidding you. This is true. Trying to pry that doggone piece of caramel off my teeth so I can say, welcome back to more of the Zeb Bell program. So that's where we are right now with this man that never gets involved with any frozen caramels. It's Dave Bigo. Good morning.
Good morning, Zeb. How are you doing, and how is Deanne doing?
She is doing great if I stay at least 25 feet away from her.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to make sure she was okay.
Well, I was the one that caused the disaster, and I was the one that injured her, and I was the one that for probably the rest of my life here on God's earth will be paying for it. So, yes, in answer to your question, she's doing much better if I stay away.
Oh, okay. Well, I understand you were a drunk driver that day.
No, don't you go there, Bigo. You might be taller than I am, but no way. I was stone sober driving my electric stallion at the grocery store when all the badness in the world came out, and I ran over my wife.
Yeah, that's too bad. I'm sorry to hear about it, and I hope she gets to feeling really great. Okay?
There again, I'll stay my 25 feet away. Hey, all seriousness, what's going on, Dave? Honestly, this killer cold is enveloping even the area that you're in. I went to college up in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And when you hear of wind chills, record wind chills of 70, 71 below zero, and I know you're not exactly in the banana belt in Indianapolis. What's going on?
It's chilly here. The temperature's minus 12 here, and the winds are about, 20 to 30 miles per hour. So it's pretty chilly here right now. But we have sunny skies, so it is beautiful to look outside and that. You just don't want to stand out there too long.
People, I don't think, realize, Dave, and I've lived out here since 1969, but people don't realize, honestly, how severely cold with the humidity in the air and the severe frost factors and freezing factors back in the Midwest. They don't realize how cold that can get.
Well, that's right. When you're up at higher altitudes, you don't have the humidity, so the lower temperatures don't feel as bad. But they've been pretty with our humidity levels out here. It's been pretty frosty, but like I say, not as bad as what I thought. And even talking to other people, they're happy it's not as bad as they thought it was going to be.
Okay, but not as bad as they thought it was going to be. That same phrase could be a new, huge problem for the United States and our allies over a festering cancer in Venezuela. Have you really followed this story?
Yeah, I've followed it some, the problem is Venezuela, even though you got a guy that's trying to take it away from socialism, it's still a socialistic state, and it's going to be tough to get it turned around and going in the right direction.
Can they?
I don't know. That's the problem. You get people involved in this, and it's kind of like this gal for the Democratic Party. What's her name? Ocala Cortez. They get these things in their mind that everybody should have free health care, and everybody should have this and all this, and and they preach socialism and that. And the reason they preach it is not because they understand the truth behind socialism or anything else. They do it because all they're trying to do is get votes for when they go up for re-election.
Let me ask you about that, Dave. What does it take? I mean, what kind of realism do people have to show and provide to the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortezes or the Warrens or the Kamala Harrises and others of their ilk on the left wing? What does it take to show them that socialism has been devastating? Socialism is a killer. Socialism is absolutely a destruction to any government or any country, and yet that's where they want to push us.
Well, we have to continue to expose socialism for what it is, and people need to do that. And it's kind of like, the union I fought, the SEIU, they talked about this all the time. Of course, they call it social justice, and so it makes it sound better than that. But it's not true social justice. It's really them wanting to take control and control us by running a communist socialistic government. And we got to expose again what it's all about. And when we did this with our employees, when they say, because they were out there telling them all the time, well, we're going to get you this, you're going to give you this, and all this kind of stuff and that. And when we exposed the fact that, the truth is all they really wanted was their dues money, and that, other people that had been unionized and were promised all this stuff really weren't getting it. And this is what we have to do. We got to really educate people on what socialism is, and because behind the scenes, ever since World War II and our wars with the Soviets and that, the other side, their whole intent is to bring down this country from within, and they're using our education system, high schools and colleges and professors and all that kind of stuff, and the far left is doing it with all the stuff they're out there with the social justice and that, and we have to educate people and wake them up, and I think they are, because there's some college kids in Washington D.C. that they were against the wall and everything, but then somebody educated on what was truly behind the wall, what they wanted to do. Why Pelosi was against it and why she wanted social justice and all this kind of stuff. And they came out against her. And that's what we have to do. We have to educate these people.
I agree with you. There's no way in the world that I could disagree with that last little dissertation that you gave. However, when you hear the numbers at colleges and universities of professors that are hired and are teaching, 90%, now come on, I'm not making these numbers up, 90% of them are really left socialists. It's no wonder these kids are leaving higher education with their minds completely bent.
Well, that's exactly right, and that was the whole intent. That when people realize they can't beat the United States militarily, they have to bring us down from within by, going in and brainwashing our young people, and they've been doing it, not just young people, they've been doing it to people for the last 30, 40 years, and it's time that we, went in and cleaned the brainwash out of them.
But Dave, I know this is kind of an ambiguous question and doesn't really have an answer, but how far can the left go? How far is the left moving now that surprises even you, Dave Bego, and myself, Zeb Bell? How far can they go? I mean, we've got people like Warren coming out and saying that she wants to absolutely put an extra percentage tax on the rich and destroy those wealthy people. And then you've got Kamala Harris that comes out and she wants to absolutely get rid of every private insurance company in the country and only go for single-payer health insurance. I mean, how far can they go?
Well, they're going to keep throwing this stuff out, and I've heard this stuff before. Again, when I fought the unions and that, and it's what we need. And I've talked about the healthcare thing before. If we want healthcare costs to go down and really make them more affordable for people, and we've got the best healthcare in the world, is allow the free market system to work and open up. So that healthcare companies, insurance companies can work across state lines, and so there's more competition. They do a better job of being efficient, and the costs come down. And this is what it has to be all about. But the other side, and I know you probably get tired of hearing this, but the other side, they want it all in a situation where they can control it, and this is what you're going to do and everything, so they can control us and then say, oh, we're giving you all this stuff, so please vote for us. And this is all about politics. This is not about what's good for the American people.
Well, it's above politics, in my opinion. And, Wheels, we got a little feedback there, if you would, buddy, please. It goes into decency, morality, and values, and even our belief in God. When I heard that the House Democrats are proposing to strike "so help you God" from witness oaths that are going to be part of the proposed rule changes in the House of Representatives, thanks to the Democrats. This is the party that hates God. This is the party at the DNC that they denounce God. And now they're coming out and they are saying we're going to take away "so help you God" from the witnesses. We're going to stop all this. And this was also the party that 2 months after they took power, Dave, proposed to remove a 181-year-old restriction on wearing religious headgear on the House floor. And they have absolutely capitulated to Muslims. There's a lot of sinister stuff going on, Mr. Bigo.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. And, it gets back to these people. They don't know how to be successful in a free market capitalistic system. So they're on the other side doing all this kind of stuff, and they're going to continue to do it because at the end of the day, they see communism, socialism, totalitarianism as a way for them to be successful and run the country the way they want to run it. And American people need to understand, when you step back and you look at this country versus all the rest of the countries in the world, people will have more opportunity, have better health care, better opportunity for growth and wages and prosperity and all that kind of than any place else in the world, especially the socialistic, communistic countries. And it's time for us to keep talking to people now. And what I found out, Zeb, and I have to tell you this, I've sat down and had conversations with younger people, millennials and that, and we've talked about this stuff. And when I kind of open their eyes to some of the stuff, they step back and, well, I didn't know that. And, I said, we need to teach you that and let you know what's going on. And at the end of the day, they go, I understand. I'm with you now. And we need more people to do that with these people.
Okay, I agree with that. But here we have 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23-year-old kids that are young adults, and they've been brainwashed into a leftist thinking. And I just wonder, how do you lead them out of the jungle and show them the truth? And it sounds easy in some respects, but it's not. I mean, I know people that absolutely are convinced that everything about capitalism is evil. Everything about private taking care of yourself and being responsible for yourself is evil because the government should do it. How do we change that stupid mindset?
Well, like I say, I think it's, the problem is with going out in the media and doing it in the media and everything, and that is we have to get in front of people and people in our schools and people that are having problems with it and talk to them directly, because it's kind of like a relationship thing. When you get in front of them and you build that relationship one-on-one, that's when they start to wake up. And we need more of the people on the conservative side to do that with people, and the young kids and the millennials, and the one I talked to was 19 or 20 years old, and when you sit down and you go over the stuff with them, their eyes start going wide open and they go, wow, I didn't know that stuff. And I said, it's because they don't want you to know that stuff.
That's right.
And we have to do a lot of one-on-one relationship working with people across the country.
When you sit down and you have a lot of employees, has it been a shock to you, or has it been a pleasant surprise with their attitude? And let's say the ages range from like 25 to maybe 65. What are the differences, and what are some of their feelings?
Well, actually, I have not, to be honest with you, I have not had too many employees of our employees that we sit down with, and we have this problem or concern. They understand our society and our free markets and capitalism, and we as a company try to do the right things for them. We're not perfect, but it's when we talk to them about things like this and this country. Very rarely do we run across somebody that is not happy. And the other thing is, we talk about religion. That we're Catholics, and it's amazing how many Catholics come to work for our company. And we don't even advertise that we're Catholics, they find out who we are.
Well, it doesn't. Now, I'm going to say this, and maybe you disagree. I don't care if you're Presbyterian. I don't care if you're Lutheran. I don't care what religion you are. Decency and good in our society is going downhill. We all need to be aware of what's going on. We all need to be responsible for our actions. We all need to take the responsibility and use the assets that God gave us to be better citizens. And that's what the left doesn't want.
No, they don't. They don't. They're bad people. They're Alinsky-style people. And we're not going to change who they are. What we have to do is re-educate the people that they've brainwashed. And, again, I think, and I talk about this all the time with our people, and, we're going to be celebrating our 30th year anniversary here in May. And one of the things that we've gone out and done is that we try to do things the right way all the time, treat people right, and do the right things for our customers and everything. At the end of the day, though, it's all about relationships with customers and vendors and employees and everything. And I think that has been a big positive for us, and I think that's one of the positives this country needs.
I couldn't agree more. And then going back to kind of doing some backtracking with our politicians. Tomorrow I have one of our U.S. senators coming on the program, Mike Crapo, and I'm just absolutely going to tell him, I am sick and tired of the sleaze and the filth and the negativity going on back on the Potomac, and it's got to be cleaned up. And somebody has to pick up the ball and run with it.
I agree with you 100%. The people in Washington, they want to be there because of, the power and the money and benefits and all that kind of stuff. And I'll go back to what I've said many times. We need term limits because they need to go and do the right things for America and go back and work in the private sector.
Absolutely. We have time for one quick call. Caller, I'm only going to give you 30 seconds. I've got to run. Thank you. Quickly, go ahead.
Well, there is some evidence that the younger people are waking up because they see their opportunity being dashed by useful idiots, fools, people that will listen. Anybody that would listen to Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez and believe it is got to be completely mindless. And the example she talks about here, we know what it will end up. It's called Venezuela. I'll hang up.
Respond to the caller quickly, Dave, if you would.
I think he's got a good point, and I saw an article today that on Cortizio that the Democrats are actually coming out against her because she's too overbearing, and they're afraid it's going to hurt their election. So, in other words, she's pushing the Alinsky-style tactics too far, and they're going to come out against her. And plus, there's some Democrats that are getting tired of what's going on with the Alinsky-style tactics in this country and where the left has taken this country.
Absolutely.
So I think he's right. People are waking up. I think some of the younger people are waking up. We just need to keep educating them.
Absolutely. It is time, before we wrap up the program for today, that once a year we get here on the air with my dear friend Dave Bigo, and he gives us the Bigo Super Bowl prediction.
Well, I think we're going to see the Patriots.
You know something? I got to tell you this, Bigo. I can't stand the Patriots, but I think you're right. I think it's going to be a walk away.
Yeah, I think it is too, and we'll see. It's kind of interesting, and quite honestly, I wish there was two different teams in it, but my gut tells me the Patriots are going to win it.
I agree. Hey, listen, man, stay warm and build a bigger fire. Have a good day. We'll talk to you later. Thank you, Dave Bigo.
Well, thank you, and have a great weekend out there.
All right, buddy. Thank you so much. Dave Bigo, author, entrepreneur, and just an all-around good guy on our program this morning. Thank you. Holy cow, talking about good people, that leads me up to talk about Joel Heward, manager, his family, and staff at Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Oh, my goodness, they take care of you and your family. A very, very serious time in life when there's the passing of a loved one and you really just don't know what to do. There's so much that has to be done. Well, Hanson Mortuary can and will help you always with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. All you need to do is call 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. And Joel Heward also serving you at Morris and Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Hey, we saw old Jeff Bronson last night at the basketball game. Attaboys hanging. And we talked to him a little bit. They've got a lot of things that are going to be cooking up and going for you during the month of February. Oh, my goodness. In honor of President's Day and everything. Look out. They're telling you at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. They have got a phenomenal selection of power recliners and all recliners to fit anybody. And they've got all the reclining sofas and the love seats and the mattress specials. Woohoo! You better get on in and enjoy the great people, Jeff and the rest of the crew at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Great guys and ladies. In just a moment, I'm going to have one of the friends that I just absolutely have the most respect for. He is a former legislator with the state of Idaho as a representative, and that's, of course, Bert Stevenson. Stand by for that. Right now, I also want to remind you about Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Oh, my goodness, they've got all the four-wheelers. You know that. They've got all the snowmobiles, you know that. They've got all the accessories, you know that. Well, what are you waiting for? Get over there because this is where the fun is sold. They're located at 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Friday 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4. And they also have the best doggone service department to keep you running. Where? At Let's Ride. And believe me, it's true. This is where the fun is sold. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and I always look forward to hearing this man and finding out about water issues, etc. And I say a good morning to former Representative Bert Stevenson. God bless you. How are you?
I'm fine, Zeb, and how are things with you?
Well, not too bad, my dear friend, and a little bit chilly, but it's wintertime, and it's certainly a lot better than it is in the Midwest right now.
Boy, you got that one right. I've enjoyed your program today, Zeb. I agree with you that we're trying to take God out of it. And I keep remembering what the scriptures say. There was a whole nation that was starved for water when they wouldn't behave themselves.
That's right. You know, Bert, let me ask you this, and we've got a little bit of a shaky connection here, so I'll try not to interrupt it. I apologize. It was a little tenuous there for a moment. But why is it today, more so than I think any time in our nation's history, that we, as citizens of this country, respecters of our Constitution and our value system, why are we so blasé and we're not standing up and fighting back for something that we're going to lose?
Well, Zeb, I think as people, we probably we want to coast on through with thinking things are going to change, but things won't change till we stand up and demand that it change.
When you say stand up and demand, and you listen to this program almost every day, I really am becoming embittered at people that have the power, and they have the words, and they have the availability before them as to where they could help the community, they could help the state, they could help the nation by standing up and telling people that we've got to right this ship and we've got to correct these wrongs, but they won't. Nobody seems to want to put themselves in the spotlight to change this.
Well, and then nobody's really sure what we need to do to change it. You and I know what to do. We change people, but anyway, are you able to hear me okay now?
You know, one thing, are you on the speakerphone, Bert?
I am.
That's the problem, I think. If you could disconnect the speakerphone and just go with the handheld, it would be a lot better. I'm getting a lot of reverb because of the speakerphone. Could you do that for me? Are you there? Wheels, did we lose him?
I'm not sure, but let me go ahead and check.
All right. Hopefully Bert will be there. Speakerphones on talk shows are not good, and so hopefully we'll try to reestablish and make sure that Bert's available. I don't want to cause him the... there we go. Hello, Bert, are you there?
Yeah, you know me well enough, Zeb, to know that I don't know how to operate new technology or old technology on a new phone.
That's all right. Speakerphones are real bad on talk shows, and so I appreciate very much what you did to change that. Bert, you have been with the Water Board in this state of Idaho. You were appointed, correct me if I'm wrong, back when Butch Otter was still the governor, etc., and they understand and appreciate how much you as a farmer and legislator know about water issues in the state. So all that being said, where are we today in the state of Idaho on water issues as compared to 5 and 10 years ago?
Well, Zeb, our water, we have less water now. We're in one of those cycles where, and I know that people hate to hear it, but there is climate change. There has been ever since the beginning of time. 22 years ago, it was they were swearing that we were going to freeze to death. Today, but what's happening to us is where our moisture is not coming where we really need it. Now, in the Upper Snake, that's above Milner Dam, we're in a position to where we're going to fill our reservoir rather easily, but we don't have a lot of the low snow that we depend on to keep the rivers flowing on natural flow into June or early July. If we have natural flow till then we don't have to use all of our water. If we don't get some more snow, and we have a lot of times, Zeb, to get some more snow. I talked to a lady this morning. She said that her kids had been up to Island Park and there was 16 inches of powder, and that's the tragedy. It is powder. There's not a lot of moisture equivalent. In the Henry's Fork and the Snake above Palisades, we're in the 80% of the water, snow water equivalent, and this is the 10-year average. And remember, the last 10 years we've been somewhat in of a drought, so 88% of the 10-year average is still going to be less than what we figure on.
Yeah.
You get over into the Wood River, the Little Wood, and the is only 73 and 78%. You get into the Big Lost River, and you're only at 68%. There's only about 3 places in the state of Idaho that we're up in the 90s, and so it's going to be we've still got some time to see what's going to happen, and that'll work out all right, Zeb. We'll have enough on the Snake River side here above Milner. We'll have enough water to carry us through, but we'll have to be using a lot of our storage water to get us through.
Bert, okay, so here we are. It's January 30th, and as you said, we still have a little time on the calendar to perhaps get some fairly good snowpack and snowfalls up in the mountains. But then, if not, what about the spring rains? I have heard predictions that we're going to have a very wet spring. How much of that moisture is applicable to the problem, or does it help at all?
Well, it helps. It helps some, Zeb, and And to say how much depends on how much spring water or rains we get. If we get enough, then people don't draft their reservoir storage as early as they would know as we might have to. When they have to start drafting that storage in early May, then it gets to be a long summer. Those reservoirs come down pretty fast.
Now, Bert, let me ask you this problem with our water. You say that we may have, underline the word may, enough water to get through this year, and we may have to tap some of the storage. So basically, it sounds to me like coming up into the fall of 2019, we better have some pretty good snow dances outside to make sure that we can replenish what we need and also get some extra.
Well, Zeb, if we can have 40 to 45% of our reservoirs full when we quit the irrigation season, then that gives us a real cushion to start the next year's on, and that's what we. If I got to be king, that's what we'd get.
Well, is this a problem, though, Burton? You've been with us for a long time, and I moved out here in 1969. But every year, I would assume that you're looking and praying and hoping for the same net result: more water, more snow, etc. Are we any different today, more so than we were, like I mentioned earlier, 10 or 20 years ago?
Well, Zeb, one of the things that happens that people don't realize is that we have a quite a quantity of this water that we have to send down for endangered species for salmon flush. That takes water out of our storage if we don't have enough on the natural flow, and we always have to take water out of storage that we didn't used to have to do.
Yeah,
and that's. I can tell you one thing that's happening too, Zeb, is our crop rotation is a little different. We've got more alfalfa, more corn because of dairies, and these are crops that take water longer in the season, and that's our economy, and we have to work with it.
Well,
farmers are being more. Their efficiency is increased tremendously, but still we use lots of water.
Bert, let me ask you this, and just forget where the water goes or how much of it or whatever. If we were to say, and we're able to say, no, we're not going to have a fish flush, it is absolutely ridiculous and asinine, and it hurts way too many people. No, we're not going to send this water here or there. This is ours. We're going to keep it. We're going to retain it. We're going to use it for our benefit. What kind of increase percentage-wise of the water that we're shipping out of here would be still here left for our irrigators?
Probably somewhere between 5 and 8% more water we would have.
Which really in a dry year could help a lot, could it not?
Oh, yeah, tremendously. In a dry year, it would really be advantageous to us.
But when you say that they're taking the water and you've got the fish flush, which somebody, honestly, Bert, I consider myself to be halfway intelligent, and I know you'll give me the answer. Can you please tell me in 2 minutes or less the value of a fish flush? I don't understand this.
Well, Zeb, numbers have a way of telling their stories. They tell you that because of the fishing in the state of Idaho, it contributes hundreds of millions of dollars to our economy. I've never seen that. Not being a fisherman myself, I guess I wouldn't understand the value of a fish. I can buy salmon if I want salmon.
But really, to take water that would help the entire economy and help agricultural programs and literally help communities and schools and other services, we are flushing it like down a toilet to go out to the Columbia. I see no sense in that.
So, and there is, there's every few years, and there's another move on this year to take out the 4 lower Snake River dams. And they always use the reason, well, we have wind and solar now, we don't need them for electricity. I can tell you we need them for electricity to balance the days the wind doesn't blow and the sun's not shining.
Bert, you touched on something. You were a legislator for years and years for our state of Idaho, and that's how you and I met. I mean, we were at various meetings together over the wolf issue, etc. But where are we today in understanding? The Democrats and the liberals, like Kamala Harris and others, they want to get rid of any and all fossil fuels and turn the electric grid over to only solar and, of course, wind power. You and I both understand, and people with common sense understand, that can't happen, and it's the most unreliable power in the world today. Give us a comment on that quickly.
Well, Zeb, it is, and we're getting quite a lot of our electricity from water, but we can't get it from the water unless we can manage it and run the water through them the times that we need electricity. When we have to run water in April, May, and the part of June for salmon flush, we don't need the big electricity there that we need in August and July.
Absolutely. Bert, we have a caller with a question, and I'm going to take the call, and then I've got to do a weather forecast. Caller, quickly, you're on the air. Thank you.
Well, logic has to play a part in our lives. Reality has to play a part in our lives, or we will cease to exist. Less than 1%, or somewhere close to that, is solar and wind. The rest of it comes from other sources, and there is nothing that's going to replace it. And to say that it will is I don't know. They're lying. They're delusional. They're high on drugs. Whatever the hell it is with them, it's not real. And you see, it can never be. It'll never support itself. It can never be. So here we have natural gas, which could take the place of some fossil fuels for fuel, and it's abundant, but we never hear about it. But it would work. But to breach a dam that is the cleanest, most efficient way there is, and there's no proof that the fish are not doing bad or better because of the dams. They never have been able to prove it. See, but when you live in a land of fools, they will believe anything. I'll hang up.
Bert, respond to the caller quickly, and then I'll do the weather. Go ahead.
Well, unfortunately, Zeb, we live the salmon they're trying to compare everything to what it was before the dams were in.
Yes.
Remember that we didn't have the sea lions and the orcas then eating 90% of the salmon that come back. Those are some things that people don't fully realize and we don't take into consideration.
Bert, I was going to share this with you this morning. Maybe you already have heard these facts and figures, but a town in Texas, Georgetown, Texas, I have been there. A couple of years ago, they were talked into going strictly green energy with wind and solar by Al Gore personally. Now, they are paying for Georgetown, Texas power over $30 million a year, and every single citizen's power rates have skyrocketed through the roof. I hope people understand it is not efficient, it is not cost effective.
Well, Zeb, the one thing that I've learned of being on the Energy Committee here in the State House is that we have in this area the cheapest electricity there is in the United States.
That's right.
And yet, people want to take it away from us.
That's
take the coal off.
Yep.
And anyway.
Absolutely right. We have a quick call. Caller, I'm going to limit your time on this because I've got to get to a weather forecast fast. Real quick, you're on the air.
Okay, my concern is, hi, this is Sharon. My concern is it is not just for electricity that we have those dams. That water is also to help with irrigation. It is to help with water for cities and people. It is to help flood control, help with erosion. It helps to provide habitat for animals. It is not just for electricity. And so this is more far-reaching than just breaching the dams to stop that form of providing energy.
Thank you, caller. And Bert, respond to the caller quickly, if you would.
And that's correct, Sharon, that we don't realize the benefits, the recreational benefits of our reservoir systems. It's just a marvel, the things that we get there.
You know, Bert, I absolutely appreciate your taking the time always to come on and talk about water issues, etc. But do you hear, I want to wrap this up with one more question. Do you hear any more about our water being diverted to the likes of Las Vegas or the likes of Southern California or wherever? Are there rumblings out there that they're going to try to take more of our water?
Zeb, they're really looking at the Colorado right now, trying to squeeze some more water out of that. They're not here, but the rumble's always there. But I don't think it's any more than it was 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay.
Hey, now, Zeb, can I make one comment?
Absolutely.
Get off of here for
Absolutely.
This last week in Boise, one of your good friends and mine, Maxine Bell, received the Water Stewardship Award from the Idaho Water Users. And I think this was a marvelous thing that how on the committees that she served with me, she was always a champion for water, and she always made sure that we had water in the budget to take care of, or money in the budget to take care of the water resources.
She, like you, one of the great respected legislators of our state of Idaho, and will always be that way. I have never met her any time when she didn't have a great thing to say, kind words, and never forgot anybody's name. She is something special.
Anyway, thanks, Zeb, for letting me come on.
God bless you. God bless you. Former Representative Bert Stevenson, and I'm very honored to have him on my program. Thank you, Bert. We'll talk to you later. Thank you much. Appreciate it. There he goes, and I really thank him for being on the program. Right now, I've got to get my weather forecast on here, and it's brought to you by some folks that have been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cache area for well over 50 years. Woo, long time. The best. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And they've got two law offices to serve you in Burley and Rupert with the best of tax return preparation, tax planning, bookkeeping services, retirement planning. And if you need to know about the new tax deductions or the new tax rates, let them help you, your family, and your business. Of course, I'm talking about Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And right now, here's Scotty with the weather.
Mother Nature teasing us with spring-like conditions and then possibly snow for the weekend. Good morning with your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast. Scotty Cameron sitting in for Gina Jameson. For today, expecting sunshine. Highs are going to be around 35. Light and variable winds, partly cloudy for tonight, then a low around 20. Then for Thursday, mostly sunny. Highs around 37. It keeps getting better. Mostly clear Thursday night with low around 25. Then for Friday, mostly sunny. Highs around 42. That's where the good ends, because Friday night going to bring a chance of rain, lows of 32. Saturday, a possible wintry mix, rain likely, a high around 43. Then for Saturday night, rain likely and a chance of snow, lows of 33. Same thing for Sunday, looks like a chance of snow, rain, and a high of 40. That's your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast. I hope you have a great day. I'm Scotty Cameron.
I tell you what, Scotty puts a lot of effort into it. Thank you very much. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Accounting services, and they serve you at both locations, Burley and Rupert. Please get a hold of them today. They can and they will help you with the very best of what we said: tax return preparation, business consulting, all of this and so much more. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Wow, busy day, and I got time for one phone call in this hour, and next hour, a couple of really, really good guests. We're going to have Dan Adario, and he's going to be talking about his new book called Chasing the Dragon, How to Win the War on Drugs. He's a former DEA enforcement officer. And then at 10:30, we're going to have Gregory Whitestone, and he's going to be talking about his book about the climate change kooks, and it's called An Inconvenient Fact. We're going to talk to him and the other gentleman this next hour. Don't forget to our friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Oh my goodness, all your insurance, life insurance, health insurance, you know, they really want to make sure that you're protected, you're covered, you're safe. So please make an appointment and talk to the people that are really accessible and devoted to serving you. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Here's the number to call, 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Oh my goodness, on Thursday, tomorrow, don't forget at 10:10, we have our Cache County School Days. And I look forward to that every week. It's really an interesting program at 10:10 tomorrow morning, brought to you by A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. Don't forget, and our thanks go out always to the lovely lady, Debbie Crutchfield. She helps set all these guests up from the Cache County school system and everything, and does a marvelous job of getting everybody on the air. So thank you very much. Another quick note, and I've been asked to hit this again this morning. It is from Doreen McMurray, and the Soil and Water Conservation Districts in the Mini-Cache area are hosting their 5th annual Soil Health Workshop in Burley on Wednesday, February 6th. The workshop and luncheon are free of charge. Call 208-572-3369 and reserve your spot. There you go. Holy moly. Let's see what else we got coming up here. I think that's going to be it for this morning in this hour. And I want to remind you, too, next hour, we've already mentioned Dan Adario and Gregory Wrightstone. Tomorrow at 10:30, unless something happens with one of his committee meetings, we are expecting, hopefully, more than a 10, 15-minute segment with Senator Mike Crapos. So that's going to be at 10:30. Tomorrow, right here on Zeb at the Ranch. Wheels, I need to take a sip of water. It's all yours. Take us up to the news. I'll be back in about 7 minutes. Well, good morning and welcome back. Hour number 3. Holy smokes, is it a pretty morning out there? Blue sky, cold temperatures. It's winter, it's January. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best of tires for anything the road throws at you. And don't forget, too, some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. I'm really excited about having this gentleman on the program and finding out more about his book. It's called Chasing the Dragon, How to Win the War on Drugs. And we have a gentleman that has a 23-year career with the Drug Enforcement Agency and so many other highlights we're going to talk about in a moment. Good morning, Dan Adario. How are you?
Hey, good morning. Fine. Very good here. You guys are having a little cold weather there, and so are we.
Well, now,
just a little bit.
Dan, what part of the country am I speaking to you currently?
We're here in New Bern, North Carolina.
Well, I'll tell you what, both of us, I don't think it's as cold as it could be like in Minneapolis, Minnesota, or other parts. It's certainly not that cold out here, so I guess we're blessed. We just got 2 old gray-haired men talking to each other this morning, so it's good to have you on the program.
Thank you very much.
All right. Tell me a little bit about this book, Chasing the Dragon, How to Win the War on Drugs. Evidently, with your experience of being with the Drug Enforcement Agency for all those years and fighting drugs, knowing the drug runners, etc., you honestly believe that we can win this war. Is that correct? Are you there?
I'm here.
No, I lost you for a moment. I'm sorry. I was getting right to the title of the book, and Wheels over at the station, you got to ride that gain. Tell us a little bit about the book and why, after all your experience and your life being dedicated to fighting drugs across the country, why do you feel that we can win this war?
Well, first of all, if you look at the many, and I've seen the many failed government programs that we've had over the past years, and I've worked within the DEA and other agencies involving drug enforcement under maybe 5 presidents and 13 attorney generals. And what we see is blueprints for failure. Nothing seems to be working. Remember Just Say No and all of these new programs that come in. And meanwhile, more deaths are happening, more overdose deaths are happening now than have ever happened in the last, I got to say, in the last decade. So what we're doing now is not working. Purpose of my book is that I'm offering solutions to the drug crisis, the opiate crisis. A lot of books have been written by law enforcement personnel, whether they be DEA agents, FBI agents, or local law enforcement, police chiefs, talking about drug busts, the number of arrests, the seizures of heroin, cocaine, marijuana, mammoth this, mammoth that. That is not a true measure of how we're winning or losing a war on drugs. If you look at the number of seizures and arrests and quantities of drugs being taken off the market, it's probably at the highest level now than it has been. And I've been in this business 35 years maybe. What we're seeing now, a true measure would be, look at the number of overdose deaths. Mm-hmm. They're going up.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're doing now is not working.
So, Dan,
I have some solution to the problem.
When I don't want to get all the facts and particulars out on your book, I want people to read the book and understand and really follow sentence by sentence what you're saying. But we have seen over the many, many years, like you said, the drug raids, the confiscations and everything, and it seems like it's getting worse day by day, hour by hour. Really, what can be done? I mean, can you give us any semblance of a solution to the problem this morning on the program?
Number one of my solutions would be we need to go, meaning we, the government, needs to go into the source countries of heroin, cocaine, and fentanyl. We know from our intelligence, whether it be DEA, CIA, or any other agencies, we know where these clandestine laboratories are located in source countries like the Golden Triangle, which I worked in that area for like 4 years, as I was in charge of that whole Southeast Asia. The heroin coming out of there, the clandestine heroin labs, the opium growing areas, we know that. Fentanyl is coming out of manufactured and coming out of China. We also know that cocaine is grown in Colombia, Bolivia, also in Mexico, and also opium is grown in Mexico, and that border, of course, is like a sieve. We know all of that. We have to go after the source. And one of the main reasons we can bring the host countries, these source countries, to get their attention is either with diplomatic sanctions or pressure, and it takes cutting off their source of money coming into our country. I'm oversimplifying it, but this did work when I was in Thailand.
Dan,
cut off the supply of commodities going in to Thailand, helicopters, and all the good goodies we were giving them, and we shut down a lot of these big businesses there to get their cooperation. That's the only way you're going to get Mexico to do something and some of these other countries.
Dan, I can't imagine, and I can only hear your words and try to visualize what you have seen, what you know, and what you've been through as far as drug enforcement agency and your work. But when I think of the drug problem in this country and around the world, the dark, sinister, sick, and very dangerous world, you have probably lived through some experiences that would raise the hair on the back of anyone's neck. This is a very dangerous part of our society, isn't it?
It certainly is, and if you look at the El Chapo, for example, look at the number of murders that the drug cartels have done, and the organization that they have, and the millions and millions of dollars that they have at their disposal to pay off corrupt officials, to pay off corrupt law enforcement at the highest level, presidents of countries, to carry out their deeds, their murders. I mean, it's just a tremendous organization. It makes the mafia look like it's like choir boys.
But when you say it makes them look like choir boys, can we win? I mean, we're talking about people that would kill, people that would slit your throat in a heartbeat, people that are their only purpose is to bring in these drugs and absolutely decimate our society and bring it down to a smoking rubble. It's worse every day. They're coming across our borders. They're coming in from overseas into our airports, etc. How in the world can we afford the manpower and the money to fight this?
Well, first of all, it's like a brush fire. President Trump is touting this wall. Now let's talk about the wall just in a brief. The wall, to a certain extent, certain sections of the border could use a portion of the wall. But if you look at the El Chapo escape, now, he was incarcerated in Mexico in 3 top security prisons in Mexico. He escaped from those 3 prisons by using high-tech, sophisticated tunnels. The drug cartel, they have the sophistication and the knowledge that if that wall, portion of that wall is completed, they will circumvent it, before it's even built. Then you have other areas that the drugs would be coming in, as you mentioned, coming in via trucks, planes, airports, the Caribbean, through the Miami coast. It's like a brush fire. So we have to be alert. The wall, portion of the wall would work, but we got to be alert with the area of coming in through into Miami, the Miami coastline. So it's constant alert. And we need absolutely the total commitment to stop this. You're not going to stop it totally, but to slow it down and to prevent a lot of these deaths from happening from overdoses, you need a total commitment from the White House and Congress. And we're not getting that.
Yeah.
That's the purpose of my book.
Let me ask you this question, Dan, a little bit.
Take a look at some of the solutions that we're proposing, and perhaps we can save countless lives.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this with a little twist to it. We talk about the stopping. We talk about stopping the drug runners. We talk about stopping the El Chapos. We talk about stopping it coming through the airports and everything. But wait a minute. What about on this end? Should we have a much, much more stringent and tougher policy on those that are the recipients so that, boy, we slap both hands?
We need to go after, as I mentioned, a brush fire, a pharmaceutical overproducing the opiates, like hydrocodone, and all of the stuff that comes out of the pharmaceutical companies. There has to be a control there, overproducing that stuff, flooding certain states with enough hydrocodone that would probably supply the rest of the world, going to like places like one state like Virginia. So there has to be some sort of a system there which the government, I understand, is looking at. But pharmaceutical money, there's a lot of money involved there, a lot of profits made, and it takes a lot of pressure, and again, it has to come out of Congress and the White House. And I don't think we have the right muscle to do it unless you get their total commitment.
Absolutely. Dan, what about the fact, and how would you respond to certain people involved in narcotics and trying to regulate narcotics? And some of these people, even some police officers, have said, well, we think we should legalize all drugs and that would solve the problem. All I see by legalization is a complete Sodom and Gomorrah. What do you see?
Oh, I agree with that. I think let's touch base on legalization. First of all, we should take a look at the marijuana laws. Marijuana should be, number one, reclassified. It's classified as a number one class, which is the same class as heroin and cocaine and fentanyl. That should be taken out of that class. And marijuana should be looked at and possibly decriminalized, as they're doing in many different states, and possibly sold like alcohol, ABC, state-controlled stores. You have to be 21. You have to be certain standards, this and that, to do it. The legal thing to sell booze. That money that's being made now by these little pot shops opening up in California, Colorado, and many other states, that money is going into the hands of the owners of these shops. Most of it goes to them. A portion goes to the state. What we need to do is have that money going directly into the hands of the government and the states that have these legal shops in their jurisdiction, and that money could be used to further drug education, rehabilitation, law enforcement. There's billions of dollars profit made on the sales of that marijuana. That money could be used in other areas in a drug prevention war. That's something that takes an act of Congress and the White House to change the marijuana laws. We're wasting too much manpower and money enforcing the marijuana laws.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Dan, of course, the opioid problem in this country, which is absolutely running rampant, has touched your family. I understand, and very sadly, and our condolences, you lost your son to an opiate overdose, which solidifies the fact that we have an overabundance of drugs in this country and an overprescription of drugs in this country. Would you care to comment on that, please?
Yeah, well, thank you very much for your kind words earlier about my son. We have to look at the pharmaceutical houses, the overproduction there. They have to, the government and the states, each state that has these pharmaceutical companies in their jurisdiction, they should get together with the DEA and crack down on these companies. But again, you have lobbyists. You have the pharmaceutical lobby is tremendous. It funds a lot of the congressional politicians, when they run their campaign funds. It takes a whole bunch of commitment, and a lot of them, it's money. It's big money. And if it doesn't come out of the White House and Congress, we're spinning our wheels.
Dan, with your career, and I just absolutely am so impressed with your resume. I mean, you have been the chief of detectives for the San Francisco District Attorney's Office. You've been literally all over the nation and the world fighting crime. When you sit down in an easy chair at night and you turn on the news or read the newspaper and you see all the filth and the human misery and the crime increasing all over the country, what does it tell you? What are we doing wrong in this country, Dan?
Well, it tells me that, we're not winning the war, regardless of what the politicians say or whatever the chief of police says here and there, whatever state they're in. We're not winning this war. And we need to come up with a better plan. And that's what that's what I'm trying to get across to Congress and the White House.
When your book came out, of course, the Chasing the Dragon, How to Win the War on Drugs, tell us a little bit about when you were doing the study and the research for this book. Is there anything after all your years with drug enforcement that when you found out certain facts and figures, it kind of set you back on your hip pockets that you didn't know and it scared you?
I was totally impressed by, number one, by my co-author, John Land. He did a great job in doing a lot of the research. What was really staggering to me is the number of overdose deaths that we had. And I kept hearing from different police chiefs and local law enforcement. Let me add that they're doing a great job with the tools that they have. If it weren't for local law enforcement, all of my brothers out there working and sisters, we'd have more overdose deaths. But what they're doing is not working, so we're not winning this war. I was taken back by the lack of commitment from the different presidents to come in. I saw of the 5 presidents that I've worked with and under, President Nixon, and this is not a political, this problem is apolitical. He was the best. President Nixon was so intent in stopping the drug war and winning the drug wars that at our advice, when I was with it was the old Federal Bureau of Narcotics, which is now DEA, he closed the border between San Ysidro and Mexico in California for 2 weeks. The trucks bringing in the various produce, vegetables, tomatoes, commodities like television, all kind of things that Mexico brings into our country for big dollars. The border was shut down for 2 weeks. Trucks were lined up. Vegetables were rotting. The Mexican government saw the dollar signs, and they decided to do something on that side of the border. During that period of time, 2 weeks, that was the only time we had a shortage of heroin on the streets of New York. So there's something, you can do it. It can be done, but it takes the diplomatic pressure, and it takes the White House.
You know,
not getting it.
You mentioned the words, and I'll use your words, a lack of commitment by administrations since Nixon. Let me ask and pursue that point a little further. Is it a naivete on behalf of our government officials, or, and I'm going to be blunt, is it a fear of what might happen and a fear of the money?
You have a double-edged sword here. Your priorities, when you're looking at some of the source countries, whether it is national security or the drugs coming into the U.S., there you have a battle between agencies, CIA, national security, DEA, drugs. There's where the contention is, and I've seen that battle when I was in Southeast Asia. That is a point that has to be looked at. The money end of it is tremendous. If you look at the big businesses that we have established in all of these source countries, IBM, and I can name so many countries, LG in Mexico, Levi Strauss in Mexico. There's billions of dollars that are being funneled into the country because of the various cheap labor and things like that. That's a money deal. Mm-hmm. And to pressure some of these countries to do something about the opiate problem and versus the dollars that they're making from the big companies like IBM and LG and Strauss, and you can name them all, there's the problem right there.
Yeah.
There's the problem. It's a lot bigger than just saying, oh, yeah, we can do it. We know where the drug, these source countries, we know where the labs are and everything else with it. But do we have the clout? And will big business and will big money let us do it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Chasing the Dragon, How to Win the War on Drugs. Dan Addario, please tell us how my listeners, can get a copy of this book.
Well, the book is published Simon & Schuster. It is currently available online with Barnes & Noble and Amazon. And the release date, it can be ordered now, and the release date is February 26th, so you can pre-order it and preview it. And I might add, we had a review on Top Shelf Magazine, and it got 4.5 stars, so I think we're doing something right.
Absolutely. Well, Dan, it's been my pleasure.
Someone as close to President Trump or the current administration to have him read the book, I think we could save a lot of lives. And I want to thank all of you in the media. You are a tremendous help, and I think one of the many ways we can get the attention of the White House is through the media. And if we can just get, his attention or the White House's attention, I think something could happen.
Absolutely. Dan, I'm going to extend the offer that when I get a copy of the book, I'll read it, have you back on the air, and I salute you for the writing of Chasing the Dragon, How to Win the War on Drugs. Dan Addario, thank you so much. God's blessings to you, and please come back.
Thank you very much, and I gladly will, and you guys are great. And keep the heat on.
Okay.
We need to get this to the attention of the White House.
All right, sir. God bless you, and thank you so much.
Thank you, too.
All right, sir. Very, very interesting, gentlemen, and I've got to get a copy of that book. It's called Chasing the Dragon, How to Win the War on Drugs by Dan Addario with John Land. And this man knows. He's been on the front lines for over 30 years with the drug enforcement agencies. Dan Addario. Okay, where am I at? Oh, I got to remind you, too, about Qualys TV real quick. Holy moly, I'm running like Qualys Electronics. And let's not forget Bruce and the rest of the crew. They say, hey, Sunday's the big game, the Super Bowl. And you can have big savings on big TVs for the big game. You better get a hold of them today. I mean, they've got everything in there. Have you ever shopped at Qualys Electronics, 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls? They know, they're so knowledgeable, and believe me, they share the wealth. I guarantee you they have exactly what you're looking for. If you want the best of watching television, they know exactly what's going to fill the bill, and they've got the big Super Bowl sale right now. Save money on the big TVs for this Sunday at Qualys Electronics, 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. Right now, we're going to send it over to Wheels. I'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
I would be willing to bet a rather large check right now this morning that back in Minneapolis, Minnesota, or Indianapolis, Indiana, or on the East Coast, wherever, you will not see or find or hear of an Al Gore sighting standing up there preaching about global warming and climate change. He's going to wait till this all blows away with minus 67 in wind chill temperatures. And here to tell us more about what I think with the book Inconvenient Facts, the science that Al Gore doesn't want you to know about, a dear friend of this program, Gregory Wrightstone. How are you?
Oh, great to be back on, Zeb. Thank you so much. I always enjoyed spreading the gospel on your show.
You know, sir, do you mind if I call you Gregory?
Just call me Greg.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Greg. Listen, I'm so frustrated that we have the likes of Kamala Harris, the likes of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Warren, others, absolutely saying, oh my goodness, we're all going to be dead in 12 years. We're going to absolutely burn up. How do we combat this idiocy? Because the media and the press are buying into it.
Yeah, it's sad. She was talking about the Earth as we know it ending in 12 years. And I think what she was talking about, she was trying to relate that to this new Green New Deal that she's promoting, which is, and I'm not exaggerating when I tell you it's socialist manifesto masquerading as environmental policy, because they put it through into this thing. just about every socialist program and idea that you've heard over the last 30 years. And with this, the main thing, and this goes back to her 12 years, is that by the year 2030, according to this, if it's enacted, will be completely turned over all energy in the United States to renewables. All fossil fuels, gone. Nuclear, gone. The only thing that's acceptable to her and her ilk are wind, solar, geothermal, and tidal energy. Those are the 4 approved sources. And and it's just crazy what they're trying to do. My most recent commentary was published last week in the American Thinker, and it was entitled "What the Green New Deal will do to my family." And it's going to. My son works in the oil field, and he's got a good job. It's allowed my daughter to stay home with the baby, and allowed them to buy a home. But that's all going to go away if that's enacted. And he's just one of an estimated 4 million people who will lose their jobs when this goes through.
Well, Greg,
and it's not going to. It's crazy. We number one, we can't do it physically. Wind and solar, as you know, you're an educated guy, and your listeners are too. You just can't do it with wind and solar and renewables.
Well, Greg, let's take one segment at a time here, and I want to break this down because I'm very partial and prejudiced to agriculture. I know agriculture. I was born and raised on a farm back in the Midwest. When you start talking about tinkering and taking away from agriculture the crop planting, the crop harvesting, the transportation issues, the John Deere's trying to get down the field to plow and take care of everything, they're not going to run on a propeller. They're not going to run on wind and solar. What in the world, the devastating effects of having a nation the size of ours that tries to feed the world with agricultural commodities and products, that would come to a screeching halt.
Yeah. Well, and I think anybody with some common sense realizes that, and they have to realize it. I think they've done us a favor, Zeb, because it's so crazy and so outrageous that anybody with even half a brain can tell that this just isn't going to work. But yet they're lining up one by one and joining into this Green New Deal idea. Kamala Harris was most recent one that came on board with this, and your listeners may not know everything. Everything that's in this bill or the Green New Deal is. It's a guaranteed job for all at a living wage, and of course the government will be the employer of last resort, they say. And this is all included in what they want to do. They're going to ban home foreclosures. They're going to create a new federal bank with which they'll use that to renegotiate existing home loans, because of course the banks were usually using bad practices, and it just goes on and on and on. And they want to cut military spending. This is all in there. Cut military spending in half, close bases around the world, and their thinking on this is that, well, since we don't have to fight wars for oil anymore, we don't need a robust military. And this is how close-minded and just you shake your head and go, my God, how can I'd be ashamed to be signing on to that bill. And what it's going to do. As you know, with renewables, if we switch over to that, it's going to increase energy costs and the cost to manufacture anything significantly. So it's going to. That's really a regressive form of taxation, and by that I mean it hurts the poorest the most. Anytime you raise energy costs, the poorest spend the highest percentage of their income on energy. So if you say you want to help the poor, then what you should do is give them reliable, inexpensive energy, and that's fossil fuel.
I have a bet that I think I would win every time today if I want to make this bet. I would bet you $100 bill, a surefire way to get hit in the nose would be to go back to Minneapolis, Minnesota right now, which this morning was colder than the North Pole, and stand up and do it on a street corner and say and espouse all the greatness of Al Gore. I guarantee you'll get poked in the nose. People that are suffering through this record cold spell right now, I think are seeing the handwriting on the wall that the Al Gores and those types of individuals, Kamala Harris, etc., are after one thing, and it's not climate change, it's control.
You got that right. Yeah, you've got that right. And what they need to do, Zeb, we've talked about this before, is to frighten the population. This is what, when I was on last time, we talked about H.L. Mencken, what he said. He said that these governments and institutions need to institute and create imaginary hobgoblins of alarm with which to frighten the population. And that's what they're doing with climate change. Why in the world would the United States voluntarily accept carbon taxes and the Paris Climate Accord, economically crippling regulations that those would be on? Why would we do that? The only reason you do it is if we're sitting on the precipice of some climate disaster. And so they need to convince everybody that we need to adopt these economically crippling taxes and regulations to save the planet. And there's a bunch of people that have bought into this. I don't buy into it at all. If you look on the back of my SUV, it's got a bumper sticker that says, "I heart CO2." Because when I look at what's happening in the Earth, I see that rising temperatures and increasing CO2 are tremendously benefiting the Earth and humanity. We're growing more crops. The Earth is prospering, greening, and thriving. It just is. It's incontrovertible. No one can argue that. Well, they can try. And I get a lot of pushback on that, but that's the fact of the matter. Your listeners could just Google NASA and greening, those two words, and see what NASA says about it.
I think
NASA says that up to 50% of the Earth is what they call greening or increasing vegetation, and less than 4% is what they call browning or desertification. That's a pretty good trade-off. I'd take that any day of the week.
Absolutely. I think if you want to take your own little survey, go back to Chicago and talk to some of the homeless people that are trying to find warmth, laying over the grates in the sidewalk at 37 to 40 degrees below zero with wind chills this morning. And you'll find out that a lot of these people absolutely would say, bring on the warmer climes. That leads me to the next point. Greg, you've been on this program many times in the past, and I always appreciate your openness and frankness on this issue. But these people, we had our own new governor on the program yesterday, Brad Little, and he came out in the newspaper and said, yeah, climate is changing, and basically it's going to be a darn hard job to change it. Wait, stop the bus. Why should human beings elevate themselves to the position of God, thinking they can turn the atmosphere and the thermometer to just what they want and keep it at a status quo? This offends me.
Yeah, and it should. It's what they're trying to do is control the uncontrollable. The one thing I say about temperature, the only thing constant about it is it's never constant. Man, no matter what time frame you look at, hundreds, thousands, or millions of years, the temperatures, it's going up and down and up and down and up and down. It's been driven since the dawn of time by natural forces. And what Al Gore wants your listeners to believe is that those same natural forces have suddenly ceased beginning your middle of the 20th century. Well, that's not the way nature, that's not the way science works, and your listeners know that. We have been in a warming trend, but it's in fits and starts. We haven't had any warming statistically since 1998. It's been just virtually flat in terms of temperature. It jumped up 2015 and 16 because of El Nino, but actually in the last year and a half, temperatures have dropped a full half a degree centigrade in the last year and a half, which is significant. But the warming trend we're in, again, it started more than 300 years ago, while we were in the depths of the horrific, death-dealing cold of what was called the Little Ice Age. The River Thames froze across solid every year. Last time that happened was 1812. So warming coming out of that horrible Little Ice Age has been very, very beneficial. And if we look through history, we've talked about this before. If you look over the last 4,500 years or so of human history, we see each one of the warming trends like we're in has been tremendously beneficial for mankind. That we see the rise and fall of temperatures closely correlate with the rise and fall of civilizations. Because each time it got cold, we would have crop failure, famine, mass depopulation. Really, really bad. So yes, temperatures have been rising again in fits and starts for over 300 years. The seas are rising slowly, but that all started back in the 1800s, based on this natural warming that we're in. I would argue if the seas stop rising and the glaciers stop retreating, that's an indication we're heading into a cold period.
Absolutely.
And if that occurs, you better buy another set of mittens and maybe some property in Costa Rica, because things could get really bad.
Greg, let me talk to you a little bit about, and I know you're very knowledgeable on this aspect of it, the political power over climate change and the acceptance of climate change. From the United Nations to right here in the United States, our politicians with no backbone or even wanting to go get the educational material and inform themselves, and then a media that jumps in with the scare tactic like we're all going to burn up, etc. How do we combat this? I mean, we've got politicians that aren't worth even tying their shoes, and they've bought into this thing without even asking questions.
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's doing things like this, people like you that are unafraid to speak and have someone like me on. And what I talk about is all science and fact-based, period. In my book, in my presentations, I always link to the sources where the data is coming from. I'll tell you one thing that will be helpful for your listeners is we've got a smartphone app that is we're creating. It's available for the Android. It has all 60 of the inconvenient facts in the book. So you can have a chart that's fully sourced and referenced, that's understandable, and I'm linking videos that I'm creating to that. So if any of your Android users are listening, they can just go to this Play Store and look for inconvenient facts. So you can have that information in the palm of your hand. That way, if you're having Easter dinner and your nephew from Boise or wherever, he's studying sustainable development, tells you that polar bears are going extinct, you can go, oh, wait a minute, little Billy, look here. And you can call up a chart of 60 years of polar bear data showing that they've been increasing instead of decreasing. And so that's a powerful tool, I think, that we're really excited about.
Absolutely.
I showed it to my congressman last week, and he couldn't put it down. He says, man, he has an iPhone, and the iPhone's not ready yet. Hopefully by the end of the week. Powerful tool for your listeners.
Well, let me ask you this aspect of it. With the past testing, and this is where I'd really appreciate your knowledge on this subject. You know, they say, well, it's the warmest it's been since 450 years ago, or 700 years ago, or 300 years ago. Wait a minute, stop the bus for a minute. Greg, how do they know, and what were the appropriate testing measures, if any, way back then to give them any proof in the pudding?
Well, you're going to be going, what, Greg? They are correct in some of what they say. They say, I was just looking today, NASA on their site says it's the warmest year ever, or 10 of the top 12 warmest ever have been in the last 2 decades or whatever. Well, yeah, that makes sense, because the record only goes back to about 1850, temperature, thermometer-based temperature. And recall, the coldest period of the last several hundred years was 1695, the depths of what was called the Maunder minimum. Cold, horrible cold. And we've been warming ever since. So, in fits and starts. So it would logically mean if we are warming, then our most recent years will be warmer than the ones going back to the beginning of the record.
Yeah.
And they are. But the key here is not that it's not warming, it is, but looking at the big picture, but rather is it because of us? Is it because of us adding CO2? And we can show you, for example, we started adding a large amount of CO2 right after in the post-World War II economic boom. And the 33-year period after World War II, we saw 33% 3 years of declining temperatures, just as CO2 was ramping up. And now we continue to ramp up CO2. We've had virtually no warming since 1998. So the key here that we want to talk about is, are temperature changes since the beginning of the 20th century primarily man-made or natural? And as you know, I argue pretty strenuously that I think we can unambiguously argue that natural forces are the primary driver. And number two, are those changes harmful or beneficial? And if you look without blinders on, or if you haven't drunk the climate Kool-Aid, it's pretty clear that the Earth is just, it's eating up CO2. CO2 has been so beneficial in so many aspects of the world. It's leading to increased soil moisture, and that increased soil moisture is driving the number of fires, forest fires and wildfires down. We see a decline in drought, not the increase that they're telling you about. So if we actually look at what's happening in the real world, we see an Earth that's prospering, thriving, and greening. And we see that temperature-related mortality for people, 20 times as many people die due to cold as due to heat. So it only stands to reason that increasing temperatures will reduce that. And actually, one of my most recent videos on YouTube, the title of it is Global Warming Saves Lives. So if anyone's there, go to YouTube. You can go to Inconvenient Facts YouTube channel, and I'm finishing up one on polar bears right now today. These take a while, but it should be pretty interesting. So yeah, we see an Earth that's actually with CO2 and rising temperatures are really doing good things for mankind.
Absolutely. The book is called Inconvenient Facts, The Science That Al Gore Doesn't Want You to Know, written by Gregory Wrightstone. Greg, God bless you, man. And again, I thank you for coming on the program. Please come back soon. Have a great spring, and we'll look forward to warmer temperatures.
All right, we'll stay warm.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Always appreciate having him on the air. I've got a copy of the book right here on my desk, as a matter of fact, Inconvenient Facts, and this man, a geologist that absolutely knows, and I appreciate him, Gregory Wrightstone. Thank you very much. Okie dokie. My. Time for the weather forecast. And I got a little news to put with the weather forecast, and it's all about Don Scarrow. Scarrow's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, and the number to call, 324-7657. Now, Don put his apron on, and he's going to be cooking up brats and sausage and everything else at the Agra Action this weekend at the Expo Center, and that's going to be on the 31st, 1st, and 2nd. Oh, boy, he's ready to go. He loves to cook up that delicious meat. Well, I'll tell you what, you can find out all about the delicious meats at Scarrow's Meats. Go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. Whether it's all the buckboard bacons or the sausages or the bratwurst. I love bratwurst. Bring some over, Don. And don't forget the tri-tips. So all this is very, very delicious from Scarrow's Meats in Jerome. Right now, here's our old buddy Scotty with the weather.
Mother Nature teasing us with spring-like conditions and then possibly snow for the weekend. Good morning with your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast. Scotty Cameron sitting in for Gina Jameson. For today, expecting sunshine. Highs are going to be around 35. Light and variable winds, partly cloudy for tonight, then a low around 20. Then for Thursday, mostly sunny. Highs around 37. It keeps getting better. Mostly clear Thursday night with low around 25. Then for Friday, mostly sunny. Highs around 42. That's where the good ends, because Friday night going to bring a chance of rain, lows of 32. Saturday, a possible wintry mix, rain likely, a high around 43. Then for Saturday night, rain likely and a chance of snow, lows of 33. Same thing for Sunday, looks like a chance of snow, rain, and a high of 40. That's your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast. I hope you have a great day. I'm Scotty Cameron.
I tell you what, old Scotty puts his personality into it. Don't forget our weather forecast sponsor, Scarrow's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. Or you can see Don personally this weekend right there at the Expo Center as he's cooking up a storm. Don't forget Scarrow's Meats, changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time. Scarrow's Meats. Wow. it's been a action-packed morning. Now, tomorrow on the show, we've got Chamber Report. I got to find out what we got cooking there tomorrow. Hold on just a second. Chamber Report, Burley Livestock. We've got Rita Ramsey coming on the program. Cassia County School Days, our business salute, and at 10:32, and I say this with a little reservation, we think we're going to have an interview with United States Senator Mike Crapo scheduled at 10:30 tomorrow morning. So hopefully all that will come to fruition. Want to remind you, too, about our major sponsor, and that's, of course, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and that's the key word, service. They've got all the tires for all the different driving conditions, no matter what the road throws at you. You'll be driving on the best of tires, the best of tread designs, and, of course, they've got all the sizes to fit your car, pickup, SUV, etc. Stop in and see them today, and don't forget, too, the best in brake service, front-end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries. Batteries, very important. You stop in and see our friends, Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, and, of course, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland in Burley. None better. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. That's going to wrap it up for me today. And we want to say thank you to all of our callers, and always appreciate your comments. We want to remind you that the way things were are the way things ought to be, and the world needs more cowboys. And we'll be back here tomorrow morning at 8:06. Ride the horse for 3 hours from 8:06 to 11 right here on Zeb at the Ranch. You have a God-blessed day. We'll see you tomorrow morning.